That was easy.
Okay. As I went out this morning, when I was suggesting I relax, I prayed, and what I got was this. It was something we already know. One, I feel like God says, I am in all things. We know that. I'm in you and everything else, every little electron, quarks, quasars, like Tim says, and you are sacraments, a great 7 sacraments, and everything is sacramental. So my art is a good medium to use because it, like everything, is sacramental. And God is in everything. There's no secular university or secular place that God can't get into it. I'm sorry, we're secular. You can't get in. Wrong. So that's kind of what everything I say is about. So let us, just for a moment, become aware that we are in the presence of that one. The Trinity before existence, anything ever happened, is with us. So may you unfold within us all and help us to be part of unfolding you and everything, especially for those who are not white, for those who are not male, those who are not straight, but to everybody in whom you exist and move and become church and body of Christ as we all become the second coming of Christ. It's going to take a while. Okay, well, hi brothers. I've got my website here, so I'll do the share screen thing so you can see this website. And just a word on the website is that Tim really has supported me both in my searches in technology and stuff, but especially in my not hiding my art. So he told me, Tom, get a website to do the art. And so this gift of what we have has made me come out in the open and overcome a lot of non-confidence about I'm not Picasso enough, I'm not a good enough artist. So I really hid a lot of it. And so I'm coming out in the open now. And this involves a real growth and confidence and kind of a transformation that for me is just such a gift. I'm so grateful for to be able to show you this because I have not done this before. I'm coming out, as it were. Okay, did I share the screen? No, I didn't share it. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. Okay, can you see my my screen now?
Yep.
Oh, you can. Okay. Well, brothers, this is my website, and that's just an opening thing on it. If you see the whole picture, it's like that. And then if I go into the next part, Father Tom, this is the part that says, okay, folks, who am I? And so I basically say here that I am Tom Colgan. I'm a Jesuit here in Spokane and everything. But what I am also is 20 years with the Native people who I love. And they're Lakota Sioux. Well, we call them Sioux. And they have given me a name, Wakia Hoto Hoaste, which means like thunder, good voice. It's the opposite of a curse. So it's a little prophetic, but it's in art. And so I love Native people, and art is really part of my thing. So there you have me. This is the Father Tom. Had to find my vocation. I'm sorry that it seems to be on my computer. It's off to the side. Is that right? Here, Manoj is going to help me.
It's set perfect for us.
Oh, it's perfect. They got it perfect.
Well, it's a little big. Yeah, if you could shrink the size so that we get the whole. We got about 2/3 of the screen.
Okay. How's that?
Because I think we just need to shrink the size.
Can you see the whole screen now?
We can see most of it.
Okay, I don't need more of me now because it'll get into, I think, trying to change it. I just, could you put, I now don't have any control over it. Could you put it back? Okay, well, brothers, I'm sorry, you will have to kind of put up with my newbie self, but this is kind of me, but there's more here. And this is the new part of me that God is giving consolation and confidence instead of saying hide yourself. And this is the part of me that I have not shown before. And it's me who's an artist, and owning that, overcoming fears of what do people think, especially of my abstract stuff about the Trinity that existed before creation. Very important to me that the basics of science, of evolution, about the Big Bang and about space and time. I don't understand them like an Einstein at all, but I understand them like a second grader. That's enough for me to have to change my whole theology. So this is the new additional me coming out now. So I'll move from that on to some of my ministry here. Okay, now this is another little section of my webpage that I will be developing for Native Americans. And so some of it is just a picture. So this is my people up in Nespelem, 2 hours from here. I go there on the every other weekend and do stuff with them like Mass. And this just means this is for them, and I have information below. And the little picture to the right is just a typical Native thing where they see that God truly is in all things. Whether you call it science, nature, whatever, you can see the smiling of the birds there, that God's in everything. And for the natives, they will pray, the 4 or 5, 6, 7 directions. So whatever subject you pray on, you have to look at it through 6 or 7 directions if you're going to see the whole thing. It's like integrating all the sciences. God is in physics and theology and philosophy. So these are invitations to the native people here. You can see we're plugged into my brother Peter Byrne on another reservation, and he's got weekly spiritual things on Zoom that he has that can join in. And then this is an advertisement for, there's some natives and I and another priest who do a Zoom presentation Tuesday, Wednesday for the weekend. And then we put it on YouTube and it goes out and they plug into that. I'll show you that at the very end. And then, so I'm going to develop this further for native people who are techie. So I'll just move out of that now. Oh, and by the way, if you have a question or something that you want to add or clarify, I want you to be able to do that. At the same time, then you might need to help me get back on track in case I forget where I left off. Okay, so I'll move from the native thing now, that I also work at Gonzaga here. I'm chaplain like the theater and dance department. So I put this section in here for them, again, which is just budding. It's new, and it's this would be a picture of some of the dance department. And they put on a great big show that included dance and theater and chorus. Anyway, I work with them. So what I have below on this website is invitations to them if they want to do a chat thing like the little black chat box. If they want to chat with me individually, I want to be able to support them. Second, if they want a spiritual direction or let's say coaching in a small group, I'm offering that. I've done it verbally, but now I'll do it online. And this paragraph here just deals with the fact that we're a faith justice place here. The Zags, or Gonzaga students, they call themselves Zags here. They're part of the justice thing. And then I have a website here to this black clarinetist whose names I forgot. He just won a Nobel Prize or something. And he has a beautiful clarinet piece on America the Beautiful. It's very sad and beautiful. And you can go to that. And now this last thing down at the bottom here is the address that Arthur gave us, and I'm suggesting that people can plug into his Examine thing in his website because there's a lot of profound, deep spirituality embedded in the way he does the Examine from Thibodeau, and it's a wonderful way for students and everybody to stop, even briefly, and deal with all the stuff in themselves they don't want to deal with: anger, loss, COVID-19, alienation, blah, blah, blah. He's got a wonderful thing that fits in with some of my experiences of the dark night of the soul. And that just means first week and third week stuff that John of the Cross has a great take on how to pray in contemplative centering ways that include God. They're not the mindfulness that is a code for you don't believe. For some people it is. It's a code for some of the students to say that, you can't really plug in. So I have one Jesuit friend who says some of the mindfulness stuff, he really likes it, especially the Eastern stuff that plugs you in. But the way some Americans do it is they introduce the mindfulness thing and then they bring you right to peacefulness, to centeredness, and then when you get to God's presence in that, they stop and don't open that door. And that's really easy to do. So anyway, brothers, this is just my stuff for the college people, and with the nuns and all them, this is a really different world than the natives, who really can contemplate spontaneously. It's more complex here, it's university, and so I have to be and dress differently and still be who I am. Okay. I realize I'm maybe going really quick here, but I thought, well, I'd drag us all through my website. So now we go to this is the section now that deals with me being open about my art. And these few pictures here, which I will not explain much, are basically, for me, they were like overcoming my lack of confidence that I'm an artist. And I thought, geez, I got to show them. If I do an abstract thing, I got to show them some realistic stuff. So this one on the left here, the red one, is for me an image of the Creator and Jesus, or the Creator in us. And you can use it for Jesus, Mary and Jesus too, but for me it was trying to get new concepts of the Trinity that help people who are into science and physics. And so it's in one sense it's a Trinitarian picture. And I'll explain later here. I got blue for the Spirit, red for the Creator, and yellow for Jesus. And it's the Trinity before creation for me. Anyway, this is a sister who's now 80, who I've had as a friend for 30 years, but it's a watercolor, and I needed to show myself that I could actually do watercolor. And this third one is one of, after evolution got going, it was at one point of the universe, I meant where there's gobs of galaxies, like let's say 50 billion of them or so, and the Earth is not yet really developed. And then this is just for me a painting I really loved, and it's a death resurrection shot for me too. Okay, let's see. Part of my integration, guys, is that the physics I learned in grade school, which was very minimal, were such a clash with when I learned about the length of space and the length of time. It blew all of my kind of theology and Genesis out of the water so deeply, I became kind of afraid of the illusion of isolation, listening to desolation, that there is no God, he's not with me, and skip this Jesuit mission of faith and justice are both unrealizable. And so I didn't yet know about the voice of desolation in some ways. And so when my dark night of the soul kind of came, I quit praying, and I needed outside help to get back and find my way. So the reason I'm saying this is, as I make this transition into a more cosmic God, I had to get, for example, a change of address. So right here it says my home address here, like back in the 60s or 70s, I'll just say it's 502 East Boone Avenue, Spokane. Now that I begin to have my mind blown, I realize there's a cosmic, bigger universe that's as real as the technology that Tim talks about. There's the technology of the universe, the technology of the Trinity, or whatever, anyway, in religion. So my cosmic address, you can read here, is 502 East Boone, but the cosmic one is North America, Earth, then the Milky Way galaxy. We thought that was it way back. Then there's the local group of 30 galaxies you may have seen on NASA. And then there's the Virgo cluster. It's over about 1,300 galaxies. Then there's the Virgo supercluster. I don't have the numbers. And then there's the known universe. And it's about 24 billion light years across. And it blows your mind, because light can go around in 1 second. It goes around the Earth 7 times. So if you multiply that times 60 minutes, and then 24 hours a day, and then a year, 24 billion light years means my mind is blown. And so I need to deal with the cosmic address and a God bigger than it. And he's in all things, and everything's sacramental. So this is all theology and science to me at the same time. My paintings will try to deal with this, that God is in all things, and everything is sacramental. And so it's all good to help share our vision. Now, this painting I'm coming out with, brothers, this it's my picture of the Big Bang, first articulated, of course, by a priest. This is my painting of the Big Bang, which is the main moment in time I'm concerned about. It requires a pre-existent trinity or something. It's going to be logical. There's no unending chain of causes. Anyway, so the Big Bang is the moment of history for me as human experience. My philosophy is we go from everything we experience. Well, learning about this experience of the Big Bang, my first profound moment. Everything flows from that. And if you jump from that to about 13 billion years later, we get another Big Bang. And this Big Bang is the entrance of Jesus Christ into history. And we call it Christmas or incarnation. But it's a continuation of the first entrance of creation where there's helium and hydrogen, and there's the divine spark from our Creator that is in the helium and the hydrogen, non-provable, can't prove it's secular, that God's not there, can't prove that either. So it's like, for me, the divine spark that was in the very first beginnings from the get-go, from the very beginning, continued to evolve the 13 billion years, and then 13.8, and then around 13.8, you get the incarnation. And this is my painting of kind of, this is just a parable, but there's gobs of galaxies, probably 150 billion at least, anyway. And the incarnation of God from one area of reality, here image the planet, going into the creation is that. For me, that is the second moment that's most important to me, the incarnation. And that incarnation or Christmas is going on still in us, in everything sacramental. And it's why we have contemplation and action. It's why we pray to move with the Lord. And this picture is, this Christmasing is going on. And I remember being on the reservation at Christmas, and the grace I got was, Tom, Christmas is Christmasing now, here on the reservation today. The incarnation is going on, and we are part of the body of Christ, as Paul says. We are part of the second coming. It's real gradual, but we're part of it. So you can see that I use my art in a sacramental way to be teaching about how God is in everything, and everything is sacramental. If people get afraid of this kind of a thing and get too spiritual, they go into landmine spirituality, where if they don't do everything right, they think they're going to step on a landmine, blow them up. And it's based on an image of a vengeful God who's judgmental and all that. Okay, enough of that. Now, this is just here a little explanation. I've already said that that I see the Trinity as three persons you cannot break down: Creator, Jesus, or Christ, the one before creation, and the Spirit. And I use these three colors for them, and the three primary colors are like the three primary persons. And this is just my language to talk of them so you can understand me. And I know that God is not a red color, but just as the Hubble telescope reads colors into pictures of the universe, that's a parable too in science. We have these, I have these pictures to describe the Trinity in reality, and it's the same thing. It's sort of our inner Hubble eye. And so I have the three colors. Now, this is an attempt to bring this vision into ministry. This picture would be in college. And here's a picture of, say, those we minister to. And I learned from a local guy who knows how to use Photoshop, something I cannot do. He has shown me that with this new technology, which Tim is sort of good at promoting us in, with the new technology, I can put together a picture that Father Tom did. I'm thinking of this one. The Big Bang is the original picture I do, my original thought and beliefs. And you can integrate that digitally with this. And so my friend Neil and Danae, who's a painter, he showed me that you could see that the supernatural in the Big Bang can be put together with the natural. Here are the students, and you fuse these pictures together, and you have the class with the people with all their materiality, which is sacramental, and in it is the Big Bang of love in humans. Humans are probably the most sophisticated conscious entities on the earth. More of them, we don't have big data, but we got spiritual powers that are inherent in our mind, willing, contemplation. So there you see, anyway, brothers, the gift of technology to be able to show that God is in all things. And so I fuse the natural, supernatural together in these pictures, and that is the vision to go forward. And it's our vision. God is in all things, everything's sacramental. And now I go into an area where, because like Pat, or who was it the other day, mentioned that the sexual area is kind of, we have this hush-hush thing. And this is a painting. I have a series of these, about 10 of them, that deal with eros, sexuality. What is the passionate thing in God that we call sex or eros? But what's that thing in God, that passionate love that shows up in men for women, men and for men, whatever? This is a picture that I tried to integrate. Some of my other pictures are more clearly breasts and more, even like artistic, somewhat vague erections, but they're not that explicit. But it deals with God harmonizing our sexuality and our thinking and heart and love and the boobs or the butt or whatever. This is, in God, there is this passion of why it's hard for me to be a celibate, total human being at the same time. And this is saying the wonderful harmony of discovering that if I really be myself, I am a Jesuit. And this took a lot of integrating of the red, because I got red passion, but I also have the Creator who's calling me through the yellow Jesus to be a Jesuit. So this is about integration, and it's also a little bit, the black in there is about a little pain too, because some of the people have to do this who are LGBT, and some of them are black and some of them are women, and they have the deck kind of stacked against them. So this just deals with the harmonizing of all of it. So you can see, like, my vision of science, spirituality, and art are sort of together and real natural for me to be talking about the universe and God's passion and likes beautiful men and women. And so healing of our self-esteem and being beautiful is the huge thing. Psychologically, I'm a counselor, so it's also a huge thing. Getting self-esteem is huge. We Jesuits argue at the table sometime. We're actually arguing over who has the value, the self-esteem issue. I'm good too. I'll recite some formulas and stuff, anyway. So that's that. Now, I am moving along quickly, but this is a painting that I did that it was during the dark night. I had a transition time in the dark night. I needed to get purified from some of my way of doing justice. I was a little too angry. I was, I believe, correct on issues, but I was too damn pushy. And I went into a dark night of the soul where God had to purify me of various energies and help me with alcohol, help me with loving men and women correctly, not being over-dependent. And what happened was I told God one evening that I was so tired of my anger and some of my other weaknesses that I wanted a change in me, and I didn't care what he did. And I had this little agreement with him, but I don't want you to mess with my body. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. And that night I said, okay, God, I don't care what you do. I'm so tired of this, so sick of being sick and tired. And I made that prayer. Well, my dark night started that night. I had a heart attack physically. That's a physical dark night of the senses. And then my prayer turned into real dry, and my favorite scriptures, favorite imagination prayers, contemplations, they didn't provide any pleasure like flowers and chocolate to your beloved one. They didn't work. And so I had to learn from other teachers that you're in the dark night, and the contemplative people now will help you with getting an image from scripture, or the Easterners, give you a mantra or the breathing things. Ignatius has some of that third way of praying, breathing. And you go quiet, you get your word, and you just use this word to keep coming back to the emptiness of God, who's loving you through emptiness now. And this went on a couple of years, and it was a real gift. It was wonderful. It helped me in many ways. And then I had to get detached from the spiritual people who teach you that, well, you just have this because you're a really holy guy. No, you got this because you're addictive. And as soon as you get out of this, better. So my prayer went from that quiet stuff into the more cataphatic, active prayer, Ignatian stuff. And I had to get rid of the people who say, if you just go into the dark night and it's really painful and you're dry and you do that for 20 years like Teresa or somebody, that's the ideal. No, screw that. So God showed me that he can show me how to pray, because I was saying, oh, you're bringing me back to the cataphatic active thing. I'm going backwards. And Jesus kind of said, thanks, Tom. You know, he shows me spiritual progress as a ladder. He can turn it upside down, sideways, etc. So again, God is in everything. Everything is sacramental, and so is this period of death. So towards the end of my thing now, I had to do some paintings that dealt with, we could call, you know, the death thing, art and death. If we leave out suffering in the cross and death and wars and bad ways of doing things, let's call them Trumpian today, that we got to deal with death. So during this, my art also deals with, I had to get out of alcohol. I'm not an alcoholic, but I had to change my eating, my alcohol, my dependence on men and women. I had to learn new things. And this is part of the cross. And there's thousands of paintings in history, East and West, using art to show Mary and Jesus, the cross. And so art is one of the main vehicles of teaching that God is in everything. It's all sacramental, death, everything. It's all kind of okay. It's working out, the reign of God. The yeast, they're all parables. Science is kind of a parable too, and so is theology. Good. You know, we got different languages and words and it all works. So this is just a section to say I don't have all my pictures out on this, but I can use art to talk about desolation. And actually to even be an intellectual and be science and theology and say that we believe in the demonic too. Jesus, Jesuits, Pope Francis, we have to deal with discernment of spirits, including the dark side. And the hardest part of the dark side sometimes is knowing how it works in us. And I could present here a picture of over-clericalism in the Catholic Church, or sexism in the Catholic Church, or arrogance and all that. I didn't do that because I felt like I could make people defensive, and the things that we need to be purified of that gradually are happening. I didn't want to make myself inaccessible by being just angry, because I also love the church and want to be a person who can show up in Native gear, Native American gear, or show up with my collar. So what I did instead is to show that the way Jesuits talk about the demonic, or the angel of light, who gives you false light and makes you destructive, moves you away from Jesus, towards evil, away from the gift of your beautiful self, and says you are alone, you're in isolation, and you're worse than everybody else. And so it's really a temptation to avoid reality and to go into addictive power trips like Ignatius' two standards, get money and power and sex and food and whatever turns you on. So this is the section here now on this picture, which is I'm dealing with the angel of light as it comes in religion. But in this case, it could come in the Muslims, who we know their war story, similar to our war story of the Crusades, and the Hindus. I mean, I guess this guy in charge in India now is moving towards that, and the Muslim mosque, you know, the Hagia Sophia, they're turning their back on the Orthodox thing of it. There's a lot of things in religions, all of them, including us, that it comes from the angel of light, like wars. Wars come from the angel of light, I think. Anyway, now this painting is by a lady who's a brilliant artist, a little bit brownish, blackish, and she is a woman. And she was raised in the angel of light family, where fundamentalism in the form of evangelism can be wonderful or it can go demonic. Her family were so fundamentalist biblical thing that from day one they crammed the scriptures down her throat. And these little pieces of paper are all scriptures. And if I have other pictures of this where you can go in and read, and the top picture says Judges, and it's an actual quote from Judges. She had that crammed down her throat, and if she didn't do it, she'd be beaten. Catholic version is shame and fear, and you'll go to hell unless you're Roman Catholic. But anyway, she had that crammed down her throat, and then she married a guy who was a fundamentalist guy who, if she didn't submit, like wives submit to your husbands, he'd beat her. And she's part black, and you can see her eye. And so she experienced the demonic in the form of religion that she rejected. And you can see the picture, her finger here. Another artist told me that she's actually trying to purify the religion, sort of a John of the Cross, trying to get the crazy scriptures out of her mouth. In the crazy way it was presented, the whole thing was, of course, evil. But she did commit suicide. And when I first saw this painting, I cried. The rest of this website just is it moves into the fact of resurrection, and I won't go into all the ways that we are transformed through resurrection, and that even though new science sometimes takes away we're on solid ground, and you notice we're on sand, and the sand goes out of underneath my feet as I feel as the new science comes and everything, that the sand goes out and I don't feel stable anymore. And there's the scary resurrection. But after a while, we learn that the water that takes the sand away is the same thing that teaches us to float. We float in the dark night. We float into the light night. And God takes us into new things. And this moves me into abstract paintings, where this is now pre-Big Bang, and it's my language for the Creator is red, and you can do an 8 by 12 foot thing and just meditate on this like for 5 minutes, the way Arthur suggested stopping and doing this yes thing, where you just say yes to whatever comes up in you. And these are my 3 colors for the Trinity, but my paintings in this time get very abstract, and they require to sit down in front of them and meditate and see what comes up and face that, deal with it, bring it to God. Very similar to the examine of consciousness. And this is just part of evolution. And anyway, so this is my website, which is not done, which I'll be using and changing according to whoever I'm with. There you go. Now, how we proceed, I guess I should get out of show screen. Okay. Hope I didn't put you to sleep, folks. That was a lot of stuff. Okay, Tim, do you want to supervise while you're here?
No, why don't you take it?
Okay. Well, I guess, let's see, this white box, can I get rid of this? Yeah. My first question would be, anybody would like to share what touched you or what you'd want to bring to this, or suggestions, or I'm open to whatever's moving you.
I really like the cosmic address. I really like that. It kind of reframes perspective.
Yes. Yes.
And it's kind of mystical because it's so damn big,
Yes. When I first saw it, all I could do was shut my mind up and genuflect. Just say, God, you're just, damn, you're big. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Can you say something on landmine spirituality? It also touched me.
Yes.
Landmine spirituality.
Well, landmine spirituality is where we really get converted to God, and then we give ourselves to it, and we're really willing to do anything. And then we're misinformed by images of God, old ones, that God is an old man in the sky who's kind of got this spear. And if you don't do exactly what God wants, even on little things like should you have salt and pepper on your food, if you make some little mistake, even if we make a mistake that's big, it's like God is really pissed. God is really angry, and he's like a landmine. He blows up in your face. You're going to go to hell. And so you should really be afraid and be so serious about your spirituality that you're really a wet blanket and just tight and just worried more than Tom Colgan is. That's landmine spirituality, is filled with shame and fear, and it works off a psychology of first that God is angry and that you are bad, and that there's an example today of M&Ms and peanuts, and it says inside the M&M peanut is the peanut. That's you. That's the real image of God. That's you. You have to come to know you're that. Then there's the chocolate around it that is kind of something that tastes good and it looks good, but it's all about shame and blame. And this is we're talking about an image of God now that gets corrupted. So the image is like, first there's like it's an image, a shame face. These are about faces of God. You're the face of God. There's a shame face that some of us got taught. And it says that you're bad. And if you make a mistake, shame on you, you kind of get rubbed out. And so it puts down self-esteem. One of the biggest needs in science and theology and everything is to love ourselves. It puts that down, and you lose yourself, the landmine spirituality. You make a mistake, and it triggers desolation, that shame on you, you're bad, you're a piece of crap, and you're not half as good as Father Tim and these other guys. You know, you're a loser, baby. And that's desolation. And there's also, besides the chocolate going around the image of God and the peanut, there's also the stuff that goes in with the M&M. And it's the sort of the Trumpian version of the image of God. Let's call it the blame. Instead of the shame face, we go into the other way, the blame face. So we blame everything, you know, the virus. Where's it come from? China. Right, it's a Chinese virus. Anyway, so the landmine spirituality works off negative image of God, and it uses the psychological thing of low self-esteem and turns us either into shaming ourselves or blaming ourselves. Those are bad faces. Shame face, blame face, no. And then lastly, the color around the M&M is just all the different personas we use, because we're nodes and networks. We have all these different things. And the main thing is not any of these last three. The main thing is, what is the peanut, which is really the image of God in us, the imago Dei. We want to hang on to the imago Dei and come out of that. And it'll help us then doing the principle and foundation to deal with shame face things in us, or blame face that's in us, and help us keep coming back. So that's just a little bit of theology on landmine spirituality. Means if you guys screw up or we screw up, you're done. And it's the illusion of isolation. We're alone. You'll be alone in hell forever. And all that hell, God condemned stuff, I know that fear is good and can be used somewhere, but this is, the demonic can work a desolation path. So that's my little understanding of landmine spirituality. It's the opposite of sacramental theology. Sacramentality. We got the 7 sacraments. God is in everything. Our spirituality is sacramental. God works through everything in us, and he's very secure. He doesn't need to shame and blame and afraid of wars. He's pretty confident. You know, he allows all this crap to go on, and we have to get tolerant and loving and forgiving like God, and quite a journey.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. But from my own take, I think in as much as the landmine spirituality is negative, is showing us a bossy God, someone who doesn't love evil, don't you think that we can also pick up something that is positive in this landmine spirituality?
Yes, I do. The way I did say it was that fear does have a role, but I think that from other religions and other spiritualities and other peoples, they give us the help to escape our negativity, or like my negativity. So from the Hindus and stuff, the people on attachment, I've so much to learn. From some Protestants, so much to learn about the Bible. Charismatic, learning healing gifts. The Justice people, learning to be Jesuits with faith. In other words, I think what you're saying is a treasure. And a lot of times it comes to us through the other spiritualities, religions, and peoples of the world, all equally God's kids. And so I've received so much from others. 2 of my spiritual directors had doctorates in either particle physics or astrophysics and spirituality. And so they've made me genuflect before the mysteries and realize I am like Parker, what's his name? Author says that I learn from the experience of others, and I learn from their knowledge. Most of my stuff is from there. What did I think up?
Thank you so much for that presentation. I think that is my take home today.
Well, thank you. Your question is insightful.
Thank you, Tom. That was fascinating. I love most the the one on in the incarnation. Very beautiful depiction of. I was coming from the background of the meditation and the incarnation from the exercises.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and I think if the one that's at the bottom corner is to represent the earth, then I think the way that it's described is a sort of chaos going on, but at the same time there's sort of the fusion of the divine and the human within the.
Yes. Thank you.
I think there are two sides to it which are very fascinating to me.
Thank you. Hey, we have a new picture down at the bottom here. Who is that? Do you have it?
That is Francis.
That's
That
Francis?
is Tim.
That's Francis.
Oh, hi, Francis. Okay.
Yeah.
Incidentally, on the incarnation, others in India, I was there briefly, and I remember meeting a guy who didn't have my religion. I can't remember which one he was. And I was sharing with him my faith about the incarnation, how excited I was at Jesus. And he said, yes, oh yes. He says, I like that. He says, Jesus is one of a Krishna's 8 incarnations. And I temporarily lost my faith. And I thought he was the Lord, you know, the divine stud, you know. And I lost my faith until once back in the States. I remember I was walking along and the Lord kind of gave me a grace, Tom. Don't be afraid. I'm still the Lord. You just got to learn more. So India temporarily blew my mind, and I could tell you about other mistakes I made with some young. I won't go into it. Anyway,
But
there's a lot of cultural differences when you go to India for 3 months. Anyway,
sorry,
I got some funny stories I can't tell you.
I had a question on your ministry with the Native American people. How much of your work goes online with them?
Well, I've been with them for about 22 years. Mainly, I'm the healer guy because their priest is a medicine man, and I worked with the Lakota Joe Red Thunder and gave me that name, Wakiaho Tohoaste, and so I'm kind of the healer guy with them. But I forgot your question.
The question was how much of your work with them is done online or goes online?
Well, right now, because of the pandemic, Tuesday night and Wednesday night, me and another priest and a few Indians present on Zoom an online presentation. It's not a mass, it's a religious service with prayers of the faithful, scripture, teaching, music. Every week we do it, and then we put it on YouTube and give links to people through emails, and they can get it anytime they want on the weekend and see it. And it's only about 35 minutes. And then every other week I go 2 hours up to Nespelem Reservation and do a mass, which is very limited. I got to wear a mask. It's all this social distancing. I can only be there for the mass, and then we don't eat. I can't visit before or after, but I do that every other week. And then there's some natives that come to me in town here, but I really love the people, and they are sort of sacramental in a way that I can't verbalize real well with scientists, of seeing kind of God in everything. And they just can contemplate in a group right now. If I'm with a bunch of scientists, white guys, and I start contemplation, you start with apologies and stuff, and code for, you don't have to become an idiot to do this, leave your brain at the door, you know. Anyway, but I love the Native people, you know.
Tom,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, in your website, it's a fantastic thing, because from the last time when you were showing your painting live, but this time you have made it into really technology, using the technology to share about your painting. It's an excellent thing. It's very nicely done. Just wanted to, another question is that, have you got any paintings or any artwork of the natives?
I have one that is, I stole some of it from the people of Spain. I have a picture of Mary and Joseph and Jesus that is really one of my best paintings, that shows them, and they're all Indians. Mm-hmm. And I give these away at Christmas and times. because I want them to have a cultural image of Jesus in their language, similar to John Paul showed up in a teepee with native leather on. And I do have that. I wish I had that here. I forgot to include it. It's my favorite. It'd be my best painting in terms of doing what you're talking about. I will include this on my website. Yeah. So many things to say. Well, we still have a few more minutes. Hey, any other things that struck anybody?
Yeah, I just have a question about you have two separate ministries between the Gonzaga University students and Native Americans. Is there any overlap in the sense, do the university students go with you to the reservation at all? Or
Yes, the overlapping would be doing the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, especially annotation 19, or 18 means do anything you can do with anybody to move them along. But 19, the 9-month thing you do in everyday life, I have done that at Canisius College for 10 years, just doing that. So now with the Native Americans and with the GU students, I do this thing here in Spokane we call the spiritual exercises in everyday life. It's annotation 19 in a group, and you take people, seeing them an hour a week through all the exercises like a 30-day retreat, but you do it in 9 months, and it's a wonderful light changer. That doing the spiritual exercises I do everywhere, and that's kind of has been my main work, and now it's moved into kind of annotation 18 of Ignatius, where he says you take people where they are, you do whatever you can, and I've heard Patrick talk about that in a very articulate way about moving people from where they are into deeper self and God and all that. So anyway, the exercises are my bonding thing that I do. So I work with SEAL, Spiritual Exercises in Everyday Life, here in Spokane, and I'll start that up in September. And they may just give me 1 or 2 people. If I had full time, I'd take, say, 10. And you have 10 people then you see every week. You can do that if you've done the exercises that way for years. You can get onto it where you'd have a bunch of them, similar to counseling, where you have to see 5 or 6 people every day. And I'm trained as a counselor, but I'm not a counselor. I do counseling, but it's more spiritual direction. So the exercises overlap. The Jesuit exercises in spirituality and theology enable you to overlap anything. Again, there's no secular world. Like when I went up to Vancouver, I was going to get a job there, which I ended up not getting. And I was going to work on the streets part-time with the homeless. And one of the ladies who works with the homeless said, well, here in Vancouver, they're real careful about religious things interfering. This is a secular place. And so if you were successful at helping the street people, she said, well, the city will then start checking you and taxing you. And they do all this stuff because your religion is interfering in their secular reality. Like God isn't here and you can't get God in here. And I experienced the use of the word secular in a way that was just, I don't think the way you do. So in the name of protecting everybody, we're going to keep you silent. Secular in the light, that's not just secular, it's just narrow. Theology isn't really a science or body of knowledge. It's just because it's personal, God isn't in it. That threatens me. I don't know if I answered your question, but it was a good one.
Tom, you didn't mention about your music.
Oh, I am artistic, and so I have a set of drums that I played. We were religious and did religious music, especially in the 70s, for about 7 years. We also did rock group stuff because the guys happen to have been in rock groups, and I'm a drummer. I mean, I don't do timpani, like long-haired stuff. I wish I could. I don't read music, I just do it. And so I could do rock drumming. And when we did this Tim thing last year, I had my drums. And I put them out and turned on some rock music and, did it. And then, and interesting, maybe I said this already, one of the guys from Africa, he pointed out how anyway I did my drums, mixing them with different cultures, I just did the American rock version. That was kind of a conversion for me to realize my drumming was totally kind of American. Anyway, but I am musical. And then I also use like puppets. This is artistic. I mentioned that earlier. I don't know if you were all there, but Marshall Rosenberg's puppets for nice, loving speech, bad speech, are similar to consolation. God saying, I love you, Tom. Yeah, I love you too. Going with these voices in the dark side, then you're all alone, you're all stupid, and it's not going to work. So why don't you just screw off? It's like these are great little puppets that kids learn. Anyway, so I'm Artie, and this whole thing Tim inviting me into has helped me own my artisticness because I've hidden it. I got about 60 paintings here that nobody's seen them. I just have kind of. Anyway, I'm out of that. Was there another question there? I'm so grateful for this thing that Tim has done. I'm really grateful. Well, any other questions or observations or suggestions? Patrick,
Tom.
it looks like you're mulling over something.
No, I just wanted to ask that, have you put this website online or it's just in the construction?
It's in construction.
Okay.
Manoj, I could not have done anything without Manoj, without Tim, and the Jesuit structure of our vocation and stuff. But Manoj helped me get in on this, and I couldn't learn how to do Zoom or any of this. So Manoj is sitting next to me here, but thank you, Manoj. And this isn't being humble. This is being real. He's behind this and helping a lot of the professors here make the jump from we're not online or Zoom into being able to present to the college. Now it's critical because I think they're going to make a decision here to say we're only going to be online, but that has not happened. Right now we're planning on having school both ways. Okay, and there's Tim Clancy. So anyway, Manoj is teaching me too about putting this thing online publicly. There's a whole lot of ways to do that and not do it. Because if I'm part of Gonzaga University, a place with money and that, I don't want hackers using me to get through my stuff into Gonzaga's. Anyway, there's a lot about this. I just have to continue learning to build this thing. And I know Christian and some of you know a lot about this. I'm happy to learn. All of you guys probably know all about this stuff more than I do. I've learned though on this stuff, if you just are happy with learning little bit by little bit by little bit, it turns into joyful stuff. And then you suffer learning your new bit. But they're all little teeny learnings, like Manoj will show me. No, the box is over here on the right-hand corner. Oh, where the hell did that come from? It was there all the time. Anyway, Manoj is laughing right to my left here. So.
That was easy.
That was not easy. Well, I suppose, let's see, it's 10:01. Does anybody else have anything else to say? If not, I'll have to push the button that says stop the recording and I'll turn this off. Well, thanks for listening, guys. I'm really grateful, and I'll see you tomorrow.